Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.
Welcome, everybody, to the 27th episode of the Blacks in Technology audio podcast. I am your tech tour guide for this evening, Greg-greenlee. I'm the CEO, owner of the Blacks in Technology community website. You can check us out at www.blacks-in-technoloyg.net. You can also follow us on Twitter at Black-in-Technology. That's BLACK-INTECHNOLOGY. We're also on Facebook, and you can check us out on LinkedIn as well under Blacks in Technology. Also, if you have any questions or you listen to the show, you want to shoot us an email, you can shoot us an email at contactus@blacksin-technology.net. Today is, what is the date today? I think 17th of January, 2012. And joining us tonight on this podcast, we have Will Lucas. Will is the CEO and founder of several startup companies, as well as a self-described innovator, entrepreneur, and musician. He has several startup companies that we're going to talk about during this podcast, that is. And we'd like to, introduce Will Lucas, and thank you for being on the show with us tonight, Will.
Totally my pleasure.
So, give us a little background on you. Where you're from, a little bit about your education background.
Okay, I'm from Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo, fellow Ohioan.
Yeah. I'm in Ohio. I saw that you're in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah. I'm a little bit north of you, so yeah. We're in Toledo.
Okay.
I'm 31. I graduated from Rogers High School in '98. I did 3 years at the University of Toledo, but I was really chasing my musical dreams, which is it's kind of ironically how I got into the whole tech thing, and I'll give you a bit of that story. But I started off in the music business. I was I'm not sure if you want like the whole landscape of my backstory, but I'll try to break it up into as many pieces as possible, and you can dig into whichever.
Ahead, because the thing about it is I actually used to do music myself. I did it for a number of years before I was always into tech, but I did have different ambitions before I really got hardcore into tech, and music was definitely one of them. So, and the thing about it is I like the fact that the landscape, as far as when it comes to black technologists and entrepreneurs, that the landscape is changing to where we're not, pigeonholed. And as far as if you're a black tech or you're a black, a programmer or web developer, you're not looked at as just that, programmer or developer or, quote unquote geek or whatever. And people need to see this, that we have different, aspirations and different sides of us as well. And that way it just makes us more, I guess, relatable to everyone else, and it makes us to where, people can look at us and say, hey, he used to do music, and now he's into technology. It's nothing wrong with it, so, definitely go ahead.
It kind of, I had this, dream since I was young. I wanted to be in the music business. It wasn't necessarily, being a rapper like, most any kid in school does now. I want to be a rapper, but I wanted to actually produce music. I've been big into production since I was a kid. So before I graduated from high school, being in Toledo, obviously we're not, a music mecca. So I was trying to find, ways into the music business. And so I was like, I went to this teen summit, and the program director of the radio station was there. He was on the panel. So I'm like, hey, this is my chance, to at least find, a bit of direction. So I went up to him after the event and told him what I wanted to do, and he said, you can come out to the station. I'll give you, some magazines or whatever and try to help you out. So more than likely, I think I went like that next day out to the radio station, and he gave me like a musician's friend magazine or something with a bunch of stuff in it that I couldn't even afford to buy. But he gave me this magazine, and he said, the best thing I can tell you to do is you find an internship somewhere, maybe like a studio around the city, or he's like, as a matter of fact, we need an intern here. So I'm like, I'm in. So my internship actually started that day. At the radio station. So, spent some time doing that. Three days into my internship, he put me on the air with him. And, from that point on, I was on the radio with him. He was doing the afternoon drive show from 3 to 7, and at 5 o'clock, during the 5 o'clock traffic jam, I would come on and co-host the rest of the show with him.
Oh, nice.
So, 6 months after I was doing that, they gave me my own Saturday night show, and I had the number one show on Saturday nights in the city. 6 months after that, he went to the morning show, and I got his show. I'm like 18 years old, doing drive time radio, and so that's like a pretty big deal. So I was blessed to have that opportunity, and but I was, like I said in the beginning, I got in to do music. So yeah. Somewhere around 2001, I moved to Atlanta. I just told him I was leaving the station, and I quit to move to Atlanta. A friend of mine was in the music business. He was an engineer at different studios, and so he let me come to stay with him. So he at the time he was working at Outkast Studio, Stankonia, which used to be owned by Bobby Brown.
Okay.
When Bobby Brown was in his heyday, so back then it was Bosstown, which was Bobby Brown's studio, but at this time it was Stankonia.
Yeah.
And I'll circle back to how this relates to my tech stuff in a second, but
okay,
it's a necessary backstory, obviously. So, Bobby comes to the studio, but they actually behind Stankonia is another studio, and Whitney Houston is back there recording, and so Bobby wants to see his old stomping ground, so he comes up to Stankonia. So. And this is my second week being in Atlanta, fresh to the whole scene of the music industry. So Bobby comes up and sees his old studio, and the guy I was staying with ended up playing Bobby some records because he was, working on his production career as well.
Okay.
So Bobby, started bobbing his head to one of the records. So I was like, this is my chance. So I go to the corner of the room and start writing the record. And Bobby walks over to me. He's like, I saw you was writing something. He's like, show me what you got. So I sang him the record. 5 minutes later, he's in the booth singing the song I just wrote. And I'm like, I'm 2 weeks into Atlanta, so I'm like, man, my mind is like, gone like from there. So, but obviously the music business is, a difficult industry. So I spend my time, bobbing my head and bumping my head, I should say, and, trying to make my way in and all that kind of thing. It didn't work out like, the dream. Yeah. So came back to Toledo in 2003. They thankfully gave me my job back on the radio. So, and this is how Creadio was born. I was in, and I'll tell you what Creadio is, but this helps you understand it. I was in a clothing store. I was in one of the local clothing stores, like an urban apparel store, and they were playing FM radio over their sound system. And so obviously FM radio has, commercials. They have commercial breaks. Yeah. So the commercial breaks come on, and one of their competitors comes on the commercial break inside their store. And I'm like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm like, I'm like the only one paying attention to this, like nobody else is looking up or anything. So I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense. So at that moment, I got the idea to have, if stores or brands could have their own radio stations that's totally about them, but still has, all the features of traditional, satellite or terrestrial radio, to where, it's still the same music and, whatever music appeals to their demographic, the target demographic, the same types of jingles and commercials and live DJs, but all focused towards the brand. Yeah. So at that moment, that's when the idea for Creadio came. So Creadio is, a brand marketing technology company that inevitably I didn't even get serious about until 2006 because I was still chasing my musical dreams. So I sat on the idea for 3 years, just poking around with it. But so I was fast forward to 06, I got my first McDonald's customer. One of my mentors, hooked me up with the Midwest marketing director for McDonald's, and we built out this product, and it took longer than it should have because I was still trying to chase my musical ambitions. But when I did get focused on it, then the door started opening up for me.
Now I was doing a little research, and you're in over 100 McDonald's from coast to coast.
Yeah, coast to coast. Yeah.
Okay. So how does that? Tell us, because I looked at checked out the site, and like you said, it's brand marketing technology. It's your company is a brand marketing technology firm, and you specialize in brand TV networks and branded radio. So tell us exactly how that all works.
Well, when you go to, we do some grocery store chains throughout Ohio and, a bunch of McDonald's throughout the country. So when you go into, let's just say the McDonald's, for instance. So you go into the McDonald's that we service, and instead of just hearing, just regular music over there, the background music system, you'll actually hear McDonald's radio, which is streamed live over the internet directly into the stores. And the live part is actually where our value proposition comes in. Since we're live, we have DJs that are on staff, and, an operator or, somebody at the store level can call us and say, hey, Greg, just walked in the store and, he wants to hear this new record and this is his favorite song. He comes in here every day. So in 2 minutes, we can have your favorite song on the radio inside that store. Because we're a live, we're a live, product.
Okay.
So that's on the radio side. So it's instantly customizable, branded radio networks. So instead of just, getting traditional music, a pre-programmed playlist or, something that comes over satellite, it streams directly over the internet and it's instantly updatable.
Okay.
And so the TV side isn't instantly updatable, but that one is, totally customizable by location also. It's delivered, via IP technology over the internet, and it's only not instantly updatable because of the bandwidth that it takes to support video inside that, and that's the only reason that it's not live. We could do it live, but it doesn't make economic sense. Or technological sense to do that inside of a restaurant. So
now,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, tell us a little bit about the technology behind it. Are you guys using a content delivery network in order to hold all the content and stream it? Yeah,
well, on our side, it's just like a real radio station. So if you were to come up to our studio, you would see 8, McDonald's has 8 radio stations that we have programmed for them. So, you have, different genres of music on each radio station from, R&B all the way to classical. So you would see these different radio stations, and they're streamed from our offices to our data center. And our data center actually distributes the feed.
Okay. Now, real quick, in case anybody out there who's going to be listening to this podcast, can you explain a little bit on what content delivery is?
Yeah, well, content delivery in our aspect, when you're delivering media, any types of media, or any types of file, honestly, media or some other type of file over the internet. It has to be distributed somehow. So if I was, just streaming it directly from my office to the retail locations or the restaurant locations, and then take a whole lot of bandwidth, that makes not a lot of economic sense for us to do. So it makes sense for us to stream it from one point to one point, which is from our office to the data center, which has that bandwidth capability. And
they shoot it out to.
Yeah, they shoot it out to all the many locations.
Excellent.
So it's just, so the content delivery is just a means over the internet to send information. whatever that information may be, whether it's a document or a media file.
And in your case, it's pretty much a live radio. And then, you know, the customizable, the video content.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. I mean, because obviously your mind thinks in a different type of manner, in a more of an entrepreneurial type manner. Did you always think like this, even as a kid? Were you kind of like, you know, entrepreneur, you know, driven, even as a kid, or was this just something that, you know, kind of dawned on you as you got older?
Well, it's funny because I was telling my wife, I don't know if you know, but back in October we were featured in Black Enterprise.
Okay, no, I didn't.
Shout out to Alfred Edmonds. If he ever listens to this, he'll hear that. But shout out to Alfred Edmonds.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. But around the time when that article came out, I started thinking about, you know, my personal history, and I was talking to my wife about it. Is because I didn't realize until around that time when I started reflecting on my own journey of how that all came about. And to your question, my family, you know, I give all the credit, you know, to my dad, because my dad was very entrepreneurial. But in my house, it was normal to have, you know, copy machines, and computers were everywhere, and printers were everywhere, and like we had like office equipment. It was full in our basement, and I didn't know that was abnormal until I started going to other people's houses, and it's hard to find a pen. You know what I mean? So it's like. But my dad was really big into computers. He would, you know, fix a lot of people's computers who maybe were from our church or different types of things, and he was always into some, you know, type of business. He was, he used to work full time at General Motors, but he always had some side venture that he was working on. So, you know, from birth, you know, I had, you know, witnessed this man, you know, work on these different ventures, and so somehow that was definitely ingrained in me. But I think the most poignant part of that story is, and this is what I really started to realize around the time of the Black Enterprise article, is I used to be fascinated by, my room was next to my father's office in the basement. And the wall separating my room and his office, you know, was something that him and my uncle had built. It was just some, you know, regular generic wall that you could hear totally directly through. So when he was in his office, and I could hear him on the phone, like walking somebody through how to fix something on their computer over the phone. And being a kid, I'm, you know, 10, 11, 12 years old, I was fascinated that he could walk them through steps on their computer and not even be looking at their computer.
Yeah.
Like he would say, you know, go up to the left-hand side of the screen, and you'll see this little, you know, X or whatever, and click that, and then this button should come down, and then you want to click the third one down, and then you go to the right side of the screen and enter this into the little menu bar. And I'm like, how does he know this? You know, he's not even looking at their screen.
Yeah.
So that was always fascinating, and I think that's what really gave me the bug for technology.
Gotcha. So how hands-on are you as far as, I know you're coming up with these ideas. How hands-on are you on the technology side? Or do you do any programming, or are you just mainly like guiding the projects as they you know, get built out?
I'm learning. Well, number one, I'm learning JavaScript, but I also do web design. I've been doing some web stuff for maybe 5 or 6 years, just out of necessity, because I didn't have the money to pay somebody, you know. And I think I started like building my own sites to be able to showcase the music stuff. So, you know, it just kind of how God works. He's like, when you know that you're trying to aim for something, but you know you're on a path to destiny, it was like where the tools that you're learning along the way actually are taking you somewhere that you didn't even know you're going. But and that's kind of how my life worked out. Yeah, it's absolutely, because my life worked out that way. It's like everything that I had done to chase my musical passions correlated to what I'm doing today with Creadio and Thank You Again, and, you know, It's another one, Classbag, which I can't talk too much about yet. I can tell you offline about that one, but
okay.
You know,
let me scratch that off my list.
Yeah, yeah, Classbag. I can't tell you too much about, but I can tell it has to do with education. That's about as much as I can tell you.
Okay.
But just to give you a reference to just how God works, or at least how He's worked in my life, it's like I got into radio to be in the music business. So with the radio background and, you know, being able to learn Pro Tools and Logic and all of these different, you know, audio editing softwares, that all relates to what I'm doing with Creadio. Because if I didn't have the radio background, or if I didn't know how to edit music or edit, you know, and do production, I wouldn't be able to do Creadio. You know, so all that time, for those many years, I thought I was doing it to be in the music business, but, you know, I was being trained for my business.
Yeah,
you know, and then further, to even take it a step further, I have several mentors, and anybody that ever listens to this or, you know, hears the vibrations of my voice, like the biggest thing you can do to help you on your journey to success is to find a mentor. Find 2 mentors if you can, because, you know, I wouldn't be near where I am if there weren't people along the way that would tell me, you know, watch out for this roadblock, or be prepared for this when it comes up because you're going to run into it, or, you know, just to do this and talk to this person and that kind of thing. Because there's things that you just don't know to do when you're new in the game and when you haven't been through something that somebody else has been through. So with that, I was somewhere maybe about 2005, 2006. I was still on the radio at the time. And one of my mentors, he's out in California, he had said, you know, it's time for you to take the next step from radio. He said, you need to be on TV. And I'm like, at this time, I'm like still wanting to be in the music business. And I'm like, I don't even see how TV fits into, you know, my musical ambition. He's like, dude, just listen. He's like, you need to be on TV. So I listened to him. So I went to a friend of mine introduced me to one of the executives down at one of our local TV stations. I didn't even have a pitch for her when I scheduled the meeting, you know, but between like let's say it was a Monday when I scheduled the meeting and like the Wednesday when we met, I pulled out my webcam on my computer and did like this super generic, you know, demo of a show that was just talking about young people in the city of Toledo. Right, so she liked the idea. I mean, it was like, it's worse than, you know, a business plan on a napkin. It's just, there was nothing to it. But obviously she saw something, you know, so she gave me the opportunity. She gave me, you know, this Saturday morning, like 10 o'clock, you know, and for free, you know, which was even a bigger deal. So, like I said, out of necessity, I learned these different things. So, from, you know, doing this little video on my webcam to then jumping into iMovie to then going and getting Final Cut, I learned how to produce video. So, you know, I mean, you know, all these things are self-taught. I haven't had a person sit down with me yet to show me how to do any of this stuff. So, that's how the TV stuff came. So, and this is just amazing how it worked out. I was at a McDonald's convention, the NBMOA, National Black McDonald's Operators Association. I went in 2008, I want to say it was. At this time, Creadio is only doing music. We just do brand radio. That's it. So met a whole bunch of people signed up, said they wanted the service. So I get back home. I think I was in Indianapolis for the convention. Came back home a few weeks later. I get this call from an operator up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. They said, you know, we like the service. We want to put your music in our new store we're building. So I'm like, cool. I had done several stores, and I pretty much knew how to run the McDonald's system. So she was like, well, we also want TV. And I'm like, oh, man, you know. But keep in mind, like, for at least 8 months, I had been trying to figure out how to do TV, and I couldn't figure it out. Because I'm a one-man show, and I'm actually doing all the installs myself, but I couldn't figure out how to do TV. This is like December 3rd of 2008. So for some reason, like when she called, I was like, I'm tired of turning away business and giving it to Dish Network or DirecTV or whatever their local, you know, television say. I said, I'm tired of giving away business. So I said, I can do it. I said, I can do TV for you also, having no clue how I was going to do it. Now,
fake it till you make it, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Fake it it's exactly like that. But this is what made it worse. Is the store opens January 3rd. It's December 3rd. So not only I don't have 30 days. I actually have about 15 days because I got to install, somewhere around the 15th to the 20th. It's got to be working before the store opens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't have 30 days. You got, 10, 15, maybe 20 days to figure it out. And I don't remember how it all happened, but I remember it working out. I don't remember what I did to search. I just know it worked. And in less than 10 days, I had a solution. I can't tell you how it happened. I just know that, all from, everything that I had done and the faith that I have, it just put the pieces together for me.
Yeah, and I can attest to things like that simply because even with, with the Blacks-in-Technoloyg site, like I've got a few ideas in my head about where I want to go with the site. And even, with this first, with this inception, I pretty much had no clue on how I'm not a developer. I'm not a web developer. I'm not a web designer at all.
Okay.
I'm more into, the networking side, the bits and the bytes of, things, system administration, things like that. So, I really had no clue when it came to, web development or anything like that. I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I do know this is what I want to do. I want to, provide black people a place to go because I'm tired of going to these conferences and not seeing enough of us being represented there. And to me, it seemed like it was a thing of we're just not coming to these places, and it might be because we feel uncomfortable. With some of us, it might just be a thing of being uncomfortable around certain people. You go to these tech events, and I've been to plenty, and a lot of them are hardcore security hacker conferences, and 90%, white male, maybe 8% white female, if that. That might be, even skewing the numbers a little bit towards female favor. And when you're in that type of demographic, you don't know. You have a hard time. People are naturally comfortable with people who look like them, talk like them. So to thrust somebody into that type of atmosphere and say, hey, just blend in, that's just not how things work, So I can understand that, comfortability aspect of it. So I just wanted to give people an atmosphere to where we can be comfortable talking tech, and so that we can build upon our experiences and share our ideas and share our knowledge with each other. So then when we go to these conferences, there's more of us there. We're represented more, and we don't feel like we don't belong. So
yeah.
And
well, you have to start somewhere. So, you're doing that. The first thing is to start.
Exactly.
When I started Creadio, for instance, my mentor, the first mentor that I had, well, he's actually the second, but one of the mentors that I had, he owned a couple of McDonald's, so that's how he introduced me to the McDonald's marketing director. So when he gave me, the opportunity to, test Creadio in one of his stores, I didn't know what the heck I was doing and working with commercial, sound equipment. So I had it's a house receiver that I was using to be able to power the speakers, and because the store had no sound, they had speakers, but there was nothing to power, and the store just didn't have music at the time. So what was crazy is to be able to get the sound from the office, which was behind the kitchen, to the lobby. You had to go obviously through the kitchen, and this McDonald's particularly didn't have drop ceiling. It was all plaster.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm like trying to figure out how to get, the speaker wire from the office to the lobby. So, I mean, it's just talking about, just making an effort to get started. So I'm like stapling speaker wire to the kitchen ceiling, in a McDonald's, which is like a big fire violation. But, you got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? It may not all look pretty. It may not look pretty in the beginning. It may not be the best way to do it. But when you get on the road to start something and you're dedicated to doing it, it gets better with time. I heard this quote a long time ago. I don't even know if it's like attributed to anybody, but they said, people judge you by what you've done, and you judge yourself by what you know you can do. I am who I am. I'm just trying to get you to see it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm just like I'm already, quote unquote big. It's you just don't know it yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's not. I'm not faking. That I'm big. I'm not. Trying to be something I'm not. I'm not. All I'm doing is being who I am. You just don't put. You just don't have the value for it yet. I already know my value. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's how I see it. Yeah, because I mean, like what you're doing, with the blacks-in-technoloyg is it's bigger than you may even know it is. But it's the consistency, and the quality of work that is what's going to make people put a value on it. You already know it's valuable because it's your vision. You're just trying to get the world to see it.
Mhm.
But it's already big because it's yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Let's talk about what's a typical day for you. What because you oversee a couple of startups that are already off and running, and you got a couple that you're pretty much, So, what's a typical day for you? Walk us through what you go through as far as, do you go into the office, or how does a day, work out for you?
When I first wake up, well, first of all, I should say I wake up later because I stay up late. I've always been like a night owl, so I've never done well with waking up in the morning. So, but I can stay up all night long, and that's probably attributed to some. But that's, like I said, that's probably attributed to some of the music background. You're in the studio all night. But waking up in the morning is not my thing. But I do it when I have to. But so when I get up, I'm usually first thing I do is work out. I do insanity workout. So that's the first thing. Check my email, that kind of thing, and spend a little bit of time with my daughter. I have a 21-month-old daughter and my wife, so I'm home just for a little bit before I leave to either go to the office somewhere, between like 11 and 12:30, or if I don't have to go into the office, I prefer to work at like Starbucks, because when I go to the office, I get distracted and I can't like really focus on like plan strategy stuff for whatever reasons. And there's probably a little bit, it's probably because of the way the office is set up. But, when we get a different spot, I'll be able to set it up differently to where it's more workable for me to do that kind of work. But so I'm usually, if I go to the office, then I'm usually there for the entire day, just working on making sure production schedules are clear and making sure the music is all, the music is all up to date, because we handle a lot of clients with the McDonald's restaurants all over the place, and the grocery store chains that we do. So making sure their production schedules are clear, making sure that our installation schedule and our maintenance schedule for those stores are handled properly, because I still handle operations. And then I would, if I don't leave the office, then I would I would do some of my strategy stuff there, but I prefer to do it, like I said, at Starbucks. So then I would go to Starbucks for at least 2 to 3 hours, sit and work on strategy stuff, and I would do, for that last hour, my I have a resolution for this year to spend at least 1 to 2 hours a day studying JavaScript. So that's what I do. Nice. And I pack it up somewhere around 7 and come home and play with my daughter for a little bit till she goes to bed at 8:30, spend a little bit of time with my wife, and then I go back to work.
The life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you, why do you think innovation and entrepreneurialism or entrepreneurship is important? Because being part of the Twitterverse and being connected with a lot of black techies, it's like the thing of today is having a startup or doing something to create a startup and being an entrepreneur, as opposed to going out there and getting a job and working for somebody. Well, why do you think that's important in today's environment?
Well, the promises that we grew up with no longer exist. We were trained, if you're over, I would say 22, 23, maybe even a little bit younger, then you grew up with this promise. That, you go to school, and you get a good job, and that can be your life. You can live the American dream. Well, the kids in school today, and a little bit actually even older, those kids who've already graduated from school, don't have that same promise. And the people who are, who live outside of that, still educational age, are realizing that promise is not also applicable to them even anymore. So because of our, economic climate and the revolution, that we're still living in, because I think the internet's still, less than 20 years old.
Yeah.
Because of the world we're living in a world that's rapidly changing, and people are still trying to figure out what happened, and especially, I shouldn't even say especially, but whether you black, white, green, or yellow, is we're trying to figure out what is beyond the industrial type of system that we were brought up in. Classrooms and the way school is structured now was built for industry. Yeah. It even works like industry. Bell rings, you go get lunch. Bell rings again, you go back to your classroom, so you sit down and you do these rudimentary things. Well, The world that we live in, because of the internet, is more dynamic. Every day is something different, every single day. So now we're trying to figure out, and this is where the innovation part comes in, is we're trying to figure out how to live, in a lot of respects on our own terms. It's like you have to figure out your own way instead of relying on, General Motors to give you a job, or, being a teacher, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. You have to be innovative enough to figure out different ways to be able to do things, because the standard practices or traditional practices don't work anymore. So, and because we live in an age where we're playing on a global scale, you're competing with people from all over the world when you used to just be competing to the kid sitting next to you. So if the kid actually, which is virtually sitting next to you, if you're in Ohio and you're now competing with a child in Japan or China, or Europe. So you're competing with everybody now. So we have to be able to do things differently and be able to accept, the change, and not, scale back away from it, because if you, continue to ignore that the system has changed, then you're going to continue to go, into the route that, our economy is going through now. The only reason our economy is going through what it's going through now is because people haven't accepted that we don't live in the world we grew up in. And until we decide to, cohesively do something different, then we'll continue to go down that road. We got to do something different. And that's all innovation is doing something differently. Yeah,
that's some great insight, especially, talking about competing on a global level. A lot of people, fail to. I don't know if they fail to realize it as much as I think they don't want to
It's a harsh reality.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a harsh reality. It's two things. Number one, it's a harsh reality, and number two, if you don't see it day to day, inside and outside of your everyday walk of life, then it's hard to forget until you go to apply for a job. You know what I mean? And you found out that that's shipped overseas. So it's definitely a harsh reality, and so we have to figure out ways to take our lives back into our own hands and realize that it's not up to anybody else to determine our success.
Yeah, this is definitely not your mom or dad's, America.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing I gotta say is this is, I think something like Creadio can be, successful in today's day and age. If you're living in any, local economy that is struggling, the worst thing you can do is try to build a business that requires support from the local economy. Creadio's success isn't dictated by what Toledo does. So my product can be used all over the world. So all you need is an internet connection to be able to, be a customer of mine.
Can you say that one more time? Because that's pretty powerful, and people out there need to hear, and they need to understand what you just said about Creadio. Say that one more time.
My business success is not dependent or regulated by my local economy. If you're building a business that requires support from your local economy that may be ailing or may even be, thriving, but if you're solely dependent on an economy that may not be, the most stable economy, then you're almost doomed for failure because you're looking for support from a system that isn't working. If people don't have the money in your local economy to be able to support you and to live the life that you want to live, then the worst thing you can do is open up a corner store in that market. No matter how good your, chips are, no matter how good your chicken is, no matter how good you can cut hair, no matter how good you can wash a tire. If your business practices if your business's success is dependent on your local economy, and especially if that local economy is struggling, the worst thing you can do is try to open up a business that's dependent on it. Work on a business and try to, think outside of your own personal box to build something that can be used by the masses easily and effectively without, your, blood, sweat, and tears. Because it doesn't take a whole lot to build, something that you don't have to consistently monitor 24 hours a day.
Yeah. That's pretty powerful stuff, man. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about thank you again. Let's go ahead and talk about what thank you again is. How you came up with the concept. I read and heard that you came up with it in a dream, and then explain the concept on how it works.
Yeah, thank you again is right now it's strictly a mobile application. We're still debating on if we're going to do a desktop version, but it's a mobile application for iOS and Android. You can get it in iTunes or the Android market right now. And what it is it's a concept that purely came to me in a dream. I had this dream of it was like a Twitter-like stream, but it was just full of post after post after post of good things happening to people all around the world. So it was, maybe a post said, thankfully, my man Greg, put me on this podcast today. It's a good day. Or, somebody held the door open for me. Or, my daughter just got accepted to college. Just good things happening to you that, would happen to you on a normal day. But what the app does, I think, it reaches into some, deep emotional areas to where so many good things happen to us, but we don't even realize them because they may be so minute or maybe so easily overlookable that we don't, at the end of the day, realize how blessed we are.
Yeah.
Because we have no mechanism or tool or utility to track all of that. Because, if, how many times can a woman, walk to a store now and, you know, see a gentleman held the door open for. It doesn't happen as much as it did, you know, when I was growing up, when I was a kid, or when our parents were kids. But if we can take the time to really, you know, be recognized, give the recognition to the good things that happen to us, I think more of those good things happen to us. I'm a firm believer in when you expect the good to happen to you, more of it happens to you.
Yeah.
So with the application, what we're trying to do is put, you know, all the good in the world, you know, in one place. It's like there's nowhere you can go and just see everything good, you know, from Toledo to Tokyo, you know, just good things happening to people, you know. So just if you could just imagine the timeline, if you don't have an iPhone or an Android phone, you can just imagine this timeline that's just full of good things happening to people from all around the world. So we just want to, you know, create a community of goodwill. So while you're sharing, you know, the successes that are happening to you, you know, you can also cheerlead and virtually high five, you know, the good happening to people all around the world. You know, like for instance, there's this guy, I don't even remember his username right now, but he posted 2 days ago that he stopped smoking, and that this was like his 5th day of not smoking. And so, but we've got people all over the app, you know, congratulating him and cheering him on, you know, just for his successes. You know, it's 5 days not smoking. It's got to be hard for him. So, and he's got this, you know, support community that's really got his back, and, you know, and they're wishing him the best. And there's nowhere you can go on the web and solely see that type of support.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so we're trying to build something that, we're just trying to give the world something to smile about.
I definitely think you guys should come up with a desktop version of it. As a matter of fact, I was on the site today, and I was like, man, where's the desktop version? And I would love to. Yeah, and I've downloaded it, the Android version on my phone.
Okay. Well, we actually before I got on the phone with you, I was on the phone with my developer. We're finishing the redesign, so it's the redesign coming. Hopefully, it'll be out within the next week or so. Hopefully. Okay. But the redesign is, you know, amazing. So I can't wait to show that. Nice, but we're leaning towards, you know, the desktop site. It wasn't, you know, it was not planned at all. But we had a couple people ask for, you know, a desktop version, you know, so it was something that we had to, you know, bring from the back burner to the, you know, something to really consider.
Gotcha. Now, you know, I checked out the Creadio site, and I checked out the Thank You Again site, and they're very clean sites, very good, nice looking, very functional. And I also checked out the videos too on your YouTube station. Yeah. So are you you know, the main person behind like the design and of the sites as well, or?
Yeah, all the sites you saw that I did those, and I do the video production also.
Nice. I might have to hook up with you on the video side of things. I got a couple of ideas for some things in the future involving video. So we may need to talk.
I'm exclusive, man.
Are you? I did see. I was looking, you know, through some of the photos on Google Plus. Well, real quick, let me circle back. Thank you again. Tell us what's the URL for that?
Thank you, AWLCo.in.
Okay. And, you know, thank you again. Share the good in your life. Let me ask you about this. This is something I was wondering about when I was checking out your site. I noticed that it's Twitter-like in nature, as far as, you know, the 140 character limit, you know, and hashtags and things like that. Now, was having the the red in the logo, was that purposely done to sort of be kind of like opposite of what Twitter is, or was there any psychological thing behind it?
No, it's because that's one of my favorite colors, first of all. And if you look at Classbag, Thank You Again, Creadio, they all use that red. And Creadio has been using that red for a long, long, long time. So it's obviously before I had Thank You Again, but that's one of my favorite colors. So that's why it's that color.
Okay, and let me ask you, why the 140 character limit? Why not push it to 150? Or
the thing about Thank You Again is I wanted to keep it as pure to the dream as possible, and how it came to me in the dream was a Twitter-like stream. So I didn't think that there wasn't a whole lot of thought into the 140 characters, to be honest, because what the idea was, I didn't want to have to make it. It was already different from Twitter in that our value proposition was different. I didn't feel the need to validate it being a different service by, tweaking, some of its function, if I can say it that way.
Gotcha.
So people were already familiar with, these 140 character limits, and they're already used to editing themselves in that way, keeping it short and sweet. So it was just something that we just did. Yeah.
Okay.
And when you see the redesign, you'll really start to be thankful for the 140 characters.
Gotcha. Now, there was a couple of times that I tried to use it on my phone, and I'll admit, and I had a little difficulty getting my post out there. Can you kind of explain like exactly how it works? Because it's when I was trying it on my mobile phone, it seems like that you have to include a hashtag in order to.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is, and that's I've had a couple of questions about that, the hashtag part, because people didn't understand that you actually have to choose a hashtag. But here's the thing about Thank You Again is this part came to me outside of the dream. So I was like, well, if I have this app that people can post, the good things that are happening to them, how can I regulate them to posting good things? And the only way that I could really figure out how to, make sure people were, using it within, the confines of sharing the good, collecting the good that's in the world, was to, implement this hashtag, gateway. So when you go to post something, you can say, like I posted a few days ago, I finally got a haircut and I feel human again. So I can now, to make sure that I'm actually, using the app for its purpose, I select the hashtag, let's say, feeling good or whatever. So we just don't, we want to discourage people from using it to say, the score of the game, or just, putting news out there, because that's not what it's for. I use Twitter, religiously for that kind of stuff. So I don't feel we're in any type of competition with Twitter because we do different things. We want you to do something specific.
I was just about to say that. It doesn't sound like you're trying to, knock Twitter off the podium or anything like that.
I use Twitter avidly. So it's not doing. We don't want to do the same thing. What we want to do is, incorporate the Twitter-like function into something that's directly defined to, a certain end result, and that's collecting the good. That's what we want you to do on this application. So you may not post, 50 posts a day like you may do on Twitter, but if we can get you on there 2 or 3 times a day to really recognize the good that's happening to you, then we will see, that our goals are satisfied with that.
Excellent. Now, to get into a little bit of the technology aspect of it, how is that working on the back end in order to, you post something and like you said, there's this like this gateway, and you have to use like one of these positive hashtags, let's say, in order for your post to go out there. How is that working on the back end? What's checking that to see whether or not that's what you inputted. Can you give us a little insight on that?
Was checking to see that it's a good post, that your post is something positive?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I was specific about is I didn't want to be, the good police. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want, to be this, person who's always, chopping down somebody's post because it wasn't something good. My hope was that we put this one gateway in the which would be the hashtag, and that people wouldn't abuse the system. So, our thought is, if we have a community of people who are all on the same, frame of mind of we want to, create this environment of support and goodwill and, all that kind of thing, then that in and of itself would discourage somebody from abusing the system, because we cherish a place that we can actually have our peace. So,
gotcha.
Beyond the hashtag, obviously you're always going to have somebody who wants to abuse the system, and that's when we have to go in and just, do what we have to do. But we didn't want to be the police of that. We wanted the community to be able to take, ownership in the environment. And the community will do that. Gotcha.
So is there do you have a database full of, I guess, positive hashtags that it checks against?
Yeah. Well, those hashtags are in the application. So you just scroll through. So if you went to your phone and you went to make a new post, once you click the button that has the hashtags, then a list of hashtags will pop up for you. And you can just pick one that, is best fitting for your post.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent.
But I will tell you, the Android has given us a lot of problems because, and this has been, the big debate that, Apple and Android have had forever, Apple and Google have had forever. There's so many different screen sizes with Android phones, and there's different ways you have to program an application to be able to work on all Android phones. So not only have we had, issues with, Android on the posting side and the speed side, which we've been diligently working on, because now we've had to figure out people with smaller phones, how to make it work when the screen size is a lot smaller. So there's been a ton of issues that I didn't, expect. And this is the kind of thing that you get into when when you start a business, is there things that come up that you just don't anticipate.
Yeah.
So with the screen sizes, there's a gazillion Android phones out there, and you just don't know that it's going to look good on every phone. So that's one of the things that we've been working on.
Well, the good thing about it is, and I heard this quote, I don't know, somewhere out there, and is they say fail fast, and not necessarily that's a fail, but this is something that you run into that you didn't anticipate, and it didn't work out, and now you go back and you tweak it and you make it work, and then you have success.
Fix it fast. Yeah, fix it fast. I think the day we launched Android, I think we had to push out an update like 2 days later, because we ran into this issue, with the screen sizes. So we had to fix it immediately.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Because I downloaded it.
You probably downloaded it, it didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you, and I follow you on Google+, but whenever you finally came out and you released it, I instantly downloaded it. And then like a couple of days later, I seen an update for it, and I was like, "It's an update already." But that's good,
because we had to fix it. Yeah, we had to fix it because that's something that we didn't anticipate. We didn't think about these small screen sizes or different things about Android, because it was built for with iPhone in mind.
Gotcha.
So when you had to realize that not every Android is a Droid X, with this huge screen, and you have these little flip ones. I mean, then you have to fix stuff real fast.
Gotcha. How many developers do you employ?
Or just one? I have one developer.
One developer, okay.
Yeah, my Thank You Again team is really small. Me and one other guy.
Gotcha. And is his name Micah? Is that?
No,
is that who it is?
Chris.
Oh, okay.
Chris, if you may see me tag him in a couple of posts on Google Plus.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought I seen a guy on was it YouTube maybe, or maybe it was a photo or something like that. It was I thought it was a guy named Micah. And
Micah works on Creadio.
Oh, okay.
That's on Creadio. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What else do we? I thought I wanted to cover something else. Oh yeah. So you have the class. Is that Classbagging?
This is classbag.in.
Classbag.in. And then you have what's the other startup that you're working on? Vinyu. Yeah.
Vinyu.
So is that still in the works as well?
Yeah, Vinyu works for Creadio. So I have there's only 4. My entire business profile is 4 projects. Creadio. Okay. Thank you again, Classbag and Vinyu. I don't do anything else besides those. So Vinyu is another application. It's another mobile application, but it works on the rails of Creadio. So the special thing about Vinyu is it works up, so like Foursquare, Go Wild, or Facebook Places. So you go somewhere, you check in. Let's say the place actually uses the Creadio service. Because we have that backbone of Creadio, let's say you go to one of our McDonald's and you check in. Well, your preferences, your favorite song choices, and maybe some pictures you uploaded to the site or the app are in the application. So when you check in, your preferences are sent to us. And so we automatically know Greg is at the McDonald's on, Main Street, and his favorite song is, Mary J. Be Without You. So we can automatically put your favorite song on the radio, and we can mention that you're there. We can give you a shout-out on the air immediately, and all you did was check in. So instead of, being limited to, just badges, mayorships or points, you actually get to shape the environment towards your preferences everywhere you go. So you kind of get the key to the city. So it's like everywhere you go, the environment is shaping towards your preferences.
That's pretty slick. And what I like about that is, and this is my impression of it, is that how good of a feeling will you have if you go into a store and your favorite or one of the songs that you like just happen to. I mean, that'll actually give you that type of vibe, that type of feeling that you'll even stay in the store longer or purchase something at the store.
It's a huge value proposition on both sides, for the brand and for the consumer. For the consumer, I mean, your ego is being fed everywhere you go. So it's like everywhere you go, your favorite things are following you. Everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and that builds brand loyalty bigger than, a loyalty card or any of that stuff can do, because brand loyalty is only genuine if it's an emotional connection to a brand. So if you can go, let's say to Kroger's, and, you got your Kroger card, you can save a nickel or, 25 cents off of, some popcorn, but there's nothing stopping you from buying it at Walmart or Myers instead, besides that little 25 cents. So it's really not a loyalty generator if you really think about it, because I can just decide to go somewhere else because there's nothing more than that little 25 cents, to keep me coming back. Maybe some points off on, Kroger gas, but beyond that, but if we can help brands create emotional experiences for customers, that builds genuine brand loyalty. So if every time I come into your presence, I feel good because my favorite stuff is on, or it's all about me, that you're sold immediately.
Yeah.
So that keeps me coming back.
Exactly. Well, Will, man, I appreciate you being on the podcast with me tonight and talking about your background and talking about your ventures. I definitely think you have some great ideas and some great companies, and wish you much success. I do want to say, man, that I applaud you on just being, not only an entrepreneur, but you're the type that, when you come up against these barriers, such as, you needed to launch a website or something like that, you're self-taught, and that you were motivated enough to keep at it, even when you didn't have the skill set. You went out and learned the skill set in order to be able to be successful, and that's something that's a lot of us can take notice to and try to accomplish, man, and try to be, more toward, work more towards, things like that, simply because everything is not, going to be given to us, and everything is not going to be, hands-on taught to us. So being able to dig in and teach yourself, how to program, and teach yourself, how to, work different types of systems, man, that's huge, man. And I definitely applaud you on that, man. And
thank you very much.
So before we leave, go ahead and give us the URLs for your site, Twitter handles, and any other pertinent information that you think we might want.
The best way to summarize all that, I guess, is to go to my About Me profile. It's about.me/Will_Lucas, and you can get links to all of that right there.
Okay.
So that way I don't have to give out the Google Plus, the Facebook, the Twitter, the Tumblr, you can just go there and click any one of those buttons, and it'll take you to any of them you want to go to.
Okay, so that's about.me/Will_Lucas, right?
Yeah.
Great. Again, man, thanks for taking the time out. Enjoyed having you on the show tonight, man, and much success to you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Blacks-in-technoloyg.
Blacks-in-technoloyg. Blacks-in-technoloyg. Blacks-in-technoloyg. Blacks-in-technoloyg. Blacks-in-technoloyg.